Somewhere between the invention of the suggestion box and the rise of the online review, humanity collectively decided that absolutely everything was someone else's fault, someone else's problem, and someone else's legal responsibility. We have always had opinions. What we did not always have was a formal complaints process, a customer service hotline, and the breathtaking confidence to use them for things that gravity, physics, biology, and basic reading comprehension already settled centuries ago. What you are about to witness is not fiction. These are real complaints, filed by real adults with real straight faces, about things that were simply and irreversibly happening the way they were always going to happen. Hold on to your faith in humanity loosely, because this list is going to test it. Number 1. A woman staying at a beachside hotel submitted a formal written complaint to the front desk, stating that the ocean was, and I want to be precise here, too loud at night and was preventing her from sleeping. She requested that management do something about it. The ocean, the ancient, tidal, geological force that has been rhythmically crashing against shorelines for approximately 3 billion years. She would like it quieted, please. The hotel did not, as far as anyone knows, have a volume dial installed on the Atlantic. She had booked a beachfront room specifically for the ocean view. The view was fine. The accompanying sound, which is the ocean doing the exact same thing it does every second of every day regardless of checkout times, was the problem. Management reportedly offered earplugs. She left a 2-star review. Number 2. A man filed a complaint with a National Park Service claiming that the park's trails were too natural and that there were too many rocks, roots, and uneven surfaces for comfortable walking. He felt this was a design flaw. To be clear, this was a wilderness trail in a protected forest that existed specifically because it had not been paved, smoothed, or otherwise converted into a shopping mall walkway. He had brought dress shoes. He described the experience as unexpectedly rustic. The Park Service, whose entire mandate is the preservation of natural environments in their natural state, received this feedback and presumably set it next to all the other complaints about dirt being dirty and trees being in the way. Number 3. A customer at a 24-hour diner called the establishment to complain that they had visited at 3 in the morning and the restaurant had been too full of late-night people. She found the atmosphere unsettling and felt the diner should implement a screening process for overnight guests. A 24-hour diner, which by definition serves anyone who arrives during any of the 24 hours, was being asked to curate its 3 a.m. clientele to better suit her comfort level. The diner did not install a velvet rope. She wanted a quiet, refined dining experience. She chose a round-the-clock diner at the exact hour it most resembles a scene from a gritty urban drama. Be honest, who among us has made a worse logistical decision than this? Number 4. A flight passenger submitted a formal complaint to an airline stating that the flight had taken longer than expected because of headwinds. He felt the airline should have planned better. Headwinds, the meteorological phenomenon in which air moves in the opposite direction of aircraft travel, and which has been complicating aviation since the Wright brothers. He did not have a follow-up proposal for how the airline should manage planetary atmospheric pressure systems. He simply felt they should have. The airline's response was, diplomatically, that weather is not a product feature they control. He gave them 1 star and mentioned he would be switching carriers, presumably to one that has negotiated better terms with the jet stream. Number 5. A hotel guest complained that the swimming pool was too wet. The full text of the complaint, preserved somewhere in the annals of hospitality industry horror, described the pool as excessively moist and difficult to enjoy. Pools are, structurally, containers of water. Their wetness is not incidental. It is their entire function, their only function, and the reason they are called pools and not dry rooms. There is no version of a pool that is less wet. He had gone in without water shoes and did not enjoy the sensation. Management added more towel stations near the exit. He remained dissatisfied. Number 6. A grocery store received a written complaint from a shopper who was upset that the store kept moving products around. She had been shopping at this location for 6 years and felt that rearranging shelves was a deliberate attempt to confuse loyal customers. Retail stores reorganize periodically to optimize foot traffic, accommodate seasonal inventory, and respond to supplier changes. This is publicly known, frequently discussed, and entirely standard. She proposed the store maintain a dedicated static section on online customers. The store sent a coupon. She used it and continued to complain at the service desk every time the cereal aisle shifted. Number 7. A theme park received a complaint from a guest who was upset that the roller coaster was too exciting. He described feeling his heart rate increase unexpectedly and found the drops to be more intense than advertised. The ride had a height requirement, a health warning for those with heart conditions, and a sign at the entrance that featured a cartoon person screaming while falling at a steep angle. He described the experience as insufficiently calm. The theme park's response was to point to the sign. His response was to stand next to the sign for a photo and then file a secondary complaint about the sign's font size. Number 8. A woman called the customer service line of a mattress company to report that her mattress had gotten softer over time and she would like a refund. The mattress was 7 years old. She had used it every night for 7 years. Mattresses compress, adapt, and change over prolonged use. This is not a secret, not a defect, and not something that occurs only in mattresses from this particular company. All mattresses do this. The representative patiently explained that 7 years of nightly use constituted normal wear. She argued that her previous mattress had lasted 9 years and that this was therefore a 2-year failure. She escalated the call 3 times. The company offered her a discount on a new mattress. She bought it. It will presumably be replaced under similar circumstances in 2031. Number 9. It gets more organized from here. A man submitted a formal letter to his city council complaining that the sun set too early in winter and that this was negatively impacting his evening walks. He acknowledged that the council did not control solar patterns. He nonetheless felt they should advocate on his behalf. To whom or what body he expected the city council to escalate this request, he did not specify. The letter was read aloud at the council meeting. It received a round of completely straight-faced acknowledgement from the clerk and was filed under general correspondence. He followed up in spring to report that the situation had improved. He credited his letter, number 10. A restaurant received a 1-star review from a customer who complained that the soup was too hot when it arrived and then too cold by the time she was ready to eat it. She had been on a phone call for 40 minutes after the soup was served and returned to find it had cooled to room temperature. The restaurant was blamed for the thermal properties of liquid over time. She suggested the restaurant develop a method of keeping soup at serving temperature indefinitely at the table without any additional equipment. The restaurant had, in fact, offered bread warmers and suggested she request a fresh bowl when she returned. She had declined. The review remains. Number 11. A man filed a complaint with a public library stating that the library was too quiet. He found the silence oppressive and felt it created an unwelcoming atmosphere. Libraries are culturally and institutionally among the most quietly understood social contracts in civilized society. The quiet is the product. The quiet is the reason researchers, students, and working adults choose the library over coffee shops, parks, and food courts. He suggested the library install ambient background noise. The library, which already had a separate community room with no noise restrictions, directed him there. He felt the main floor should also change. He returned the following week and whispered his continued objections to a librarian who was, by all accounts, very patient. Number 12. A woman called her local utility company to complain that her electricity bill was higher in summer because she ran her air conditioning constantly. She felt the company was taking advantage of the season. The utility company does not cause summer. It does not manufacture the heat that prompts the use of air conditioning. It simply delivers the electricity that the air conditioner requires when it is used for extended hours during warm months. She proposed the company offer a summer discount for customers who were hot. The company explained tiered pricing structures. She felt this was not the explanation she had been looking for. She asked to speak with someone who could personally apologize for July number 13. A passenger on a cruise ship complained that the ocean was visible from too many windows and that she found the constant presence of open water anxiety-inducing. She had booked a cruise. A cruise is a ship-based vacation that takes place on the ocean. The ocean is definitionally the primary setting of the experience. The ship had interior cabins. She had specifically selected an ocean view room for the view and then found the view distressing in a way she felt was the cruise line's responsibility to remedy. The cruise line offered a room change. She declined because she wanted the view for photos but without the psychological weight of open water. This is not something that can be resolved through a room transfer in 14. And now we begin to pick up speed. A man filed a noise complaint against a neighbor for mowing their lawn during daylight hours on a Saturday. The lawn mowing began at 10 in the morning, fell within every local ordinance for acceptable noise hours, and lasted approximately 35 minutes. He described it as an unreasonable imposition on his weekend tranquility. He felt his neighbor should coordinate lawn maintenance schedules with residents on the street before proceeding. He submitted the complaint in writing to the Homeowners Association, the city's noise complaint office, and, for reasons no one has fully explained, his congressional representative. All 3 responded. None found a violation. He began mowing his own lawn at 10:05 the following Saturday, apparently without irony. Number 15. A customer complained to a candle company that their lavender-scented candle smelled like lavender. She had purchased the candle based on the packaging, which described it as a lavender candle, pictured lavender on the label, and listed lavender as the primary fragrance note. She found the scent overwhelming and floral and felt misled. The candle was performing exactly as specified, labeled, and intended. The company offered a replacement from their unscented line. She said she wanted the lavender candle to smell like lavender, just less so. There is a product category for this. It is called a candle with less lavender in it. She wanted the company to reformulate one of their best sellers to match her personal threshold. They did not. Number 16. A gym member submitted a formal complaint stating that the gym was too full of people exercising. She had signed up in January and found the equipment consistently occupied by other people who had also signed up in January, and were also attempting to use the gym they had paid to use. She proposed the gym implement a cap on how many members could exercise simultaneously and suggested that long-term members should receive priority access during peak hours. The gym had a booking system for classes. It did not have a booking system for general floor access because gyms are not libraries, and also she did not want to book. She wanted to simply arrive and find equipment waiting. These two desires are in direct conflict. The conflict remains unresolved. Number 17. A man complained to a zoo that the animals were not performing when he visited. The zoo's lions were sleeping, the giraffes were standing in the shade. The penguins were, to his frustration, mostly floating. He felt the zoo should have scheduled animal activities during his visit and expressed that he had paid for an experience, not a nature documentary. Animals in a zoo are, regrettably, animals. They sleep, rest, float, and stand in ways that are governed by their biology and not the guest schedule. The zoo had a feeding demonstration at 2 p.m. He had arrived at 2:15. The penguins were full. He suggested the zoo stagger feeding times to accommodate latecomers. The zoo suggested he arrive on time. He gave them 3 stars and described the penguins as unengaged. Number 18. A woman complained to her bank that she had been charged an overdraft fee after spending money she did not have. She acknowledged she did not have the money. She acknowledged she had spent it regardless. She felt the bank should have warned her more enthusiastically before allowing the transaction to go through. The bank's records showed 2 SMS notifications, 1 email, and a push alert from the banking app, all sent before the transaction completed. She had silenced her phone. She proposed the bank develop a system in which her account could not be overdrawn at all, which is a feature that is called a spending limit lock, and was available to her for free in the app settings. She did not know this. She felt the bank should have told her. The bank's records showed they had sent her 3 emails about this feature. She had silenced her email too. Number 19. It somehow gets worse. A man filed a complaint with the post office because his mail arrived at the wrong time of day. Not the wrong day, not the wrong address. The right address, the right mail, but delivered at 2 in the afternoon instead of in the morning as he had apparently decided to arrive. The Postal Service operates on routes that shift based on volume, staffing, and sequence. There is no scheduled delivery window for residential mail. There never has been. He had built his entire morning routine around the assumption that mail arrived at 10 a.m. It had done so coincidentally for several years. A route change meant it now arrived in the afternoon. He filed a formal complaint requesting his neighborhood be assigned a morning route. He was told route times are not individually assignable. He began calling the main postal line once a week. The mail continues to arrive in the afternoon. Number 20. A woman submitted a complaint to a National Weather Service station, not a TV station, the actual governmental meteorological service, stating that the forecast had been wrong and that this was unacceptable. The forecast had predicted a 30% chance of rain. It had rained. She felt that a 30% chance of rain meant there was a 70% chance it would not rain, and that the rain was therefore the agency's error. A 30% probability is a probability, not a promise. It means that under similar atmospheric conditions, rain occurs approximately 30% of the time. When it occurs, the forecast is not wrong. It is a probability that materialized. She requested a formal apology. The Weather Service sent her an educational pamphlet on probabilistic forecasting. She found it condescending. She was not wrong about the pamphlet, to be fair, but she was still wrong about the rain. Number 21. A man complained to his local government that his neighborhood's trees were dropping leaves onto his property in autumn and that the municipality should be responsible for cleanup. The trees were on public land. The leaves, however, had traveled. They had traveled the way leaves do, which is windborne, and entirely without respect for property lines. He felt that because the trees belonged to the city, the leaves that fell from them onto his driveway remained the city's legal responsibility. He cited no ordinance. He had invented this legal theory independently. The city sent a public works representative to explain that fallen leaves on private property are the homeowner's responsibility, which is the standard in virtually every jurisdiction in the world. He said he would be consulting a lawyer. He also said this the year before. No lawyer has been consulted. Number 22. We are approaching the summit. A passenger on a train complained that the train had arrived on time when she expected it to be late. She had planned to use the delay to finish a phone call and was interrupted when the doors opened exactly at the scheduled time. She filed a complaint stating that the train's punctuality had been inconvenient. She wanted it noted that she had not been prepared for efficiency. The Transit Authority, which spends considerable public resources attempting to run trains on schedule and fields thousands of complaints per year about lateness, received a formal complaint about the opposite condition. They acknowledged her feedback. They did not change the train schedule. The train continued to arrive on time. She presumably continued to be caught off guard. Number 23. A homeowner filed a complaint with their real estate agent years after the purchase, stating that the house had turned out to be in a neighborhood and that the neighborhood contained neighbors. She had purchased the home without fully accounting for the adjacency of other households. She was disturbed by the sounds of families, the visibility of parked cars, and the general human activity of people living their lives in proximity to her living her life. She wanted to know if the agent could have disclosed that the neighborhood would be this neighborhoody. The agent had provided full disclosure documentation, a neighborhood profile, a walkability score, a proximity map, and 3 site visits before closing. The neighborhood had been fully and continuously neighborhoody for at least 60 years before she moved in. She asked if the agent knew anyone who could help her find a home with fewer neighbors. That is called a remote property listing. They sent her some number 24. A man complained to the manufacturer of a self-assembling furniture piece that the furniture had required assembly. The box had stated some assembly required in 3 languages on 4 sides. The instructions had included pictograms, a parts list, and a QR code linking to an instructional video. He felt that the phrase "some assembly" had set an insufficiently accurate expectation for the amount of assembly involved, and that he had been misled into a home furniture construction project when he had wanted a completed piece. The manufacturer's definition of some assembly and his definition had diverged somewhere between the box and the living room floor, where he had reportedly been sitting for 2 hours before calling customer service. The representative walked him through the remaining steps. He finished the furniture. He left a 1-star review and described the experience as a building project. He was not technically wrong, number 25. A woman submitted a written complaint to a cinema stating that the movie she had seen had been sad and that she wished she had been warned. The movie had won awards specifically for its emotional weight. Its marketing campaign had described it as a devastating and unforgettable portrait of loss. The trailer had included crying, a funeral, and a piece of orchestral music commonly associated with grief. She had selected it from the available options, purchased a ticket, and then experienced the devastating and unforgettable portrait of loss that had been promised in the marketing. She felt the cinema should have provided an emotional impact rating alongside the content advisory. She proposed a sadness scale from 1 to 10. The cinema did not implement the sadness scale. She has since made it her personal mission to warn other moviegoers in online forums. Her reviews are thorough, detailed, and contain significant spoilers. Number 26. A man called a restaurant to complain that the meal he had eaten there the previous evening had made him full and that he had been unable to finish it, which he felt entitled him to a partial refund. He had ordered a large dish. He had eaten what he could. He had, by his own admission, enjoyed it. But he had not been able to finish it, and he felt this represented a failure of portion calibration on the restaurant's part. The restaurant had not promised he would finish the meal. No restaurant in the history of commercial dining has offered a contractual guarantee of consumption completion. He had not asked for a smaller portion. He had not asked to take the remainder home. He had simply left it and then called the next morning to discuss compensation. The restaurant offered him a takeaway box, retroactively and somewhat philosophically. He found this unhelpful. It was admittedly quite unhelpful. Number 27, and here we are. The final complaint, the one that somehow makes everything before it seem like a series of reasonable, grounded, well-considered grievances. A man filed a formal written complaint, submitted by certified mail, in an envelope, with a return address to the concept of time. Not a time-related company, not a government agency that manages schedules. The abstract philosophical concept of time itself. He felt that the years were passing too quickly, that he had not been sufficiently consulted on the rate of aging, and that the passage of time was being conducted without adequate transparency or stakeholder input. He wanted time to slow down, specifically during enjoyable experiences, and to accelerate during unpleasant ones. He acknowledged in the letter that he was uncertain of the correct mailing address. He settled on submitting it to the Department of the Interior, which he felt was the closest approximation of an authority over natural phenomena. They sent him a pamphlet about national parks. He has not followed up. Time, for its part, has continued at its standard rate of 1 second per second, indifferent as ever, and that is where we land. 27 complaints, filed with complete sincerity, about the ocean, about gravity, about probability, about time itself. What they all share is not stupidity. It is something more interesting. It is the sincere belief that the world, in all its ancient indifferent mechanics, should pause and make a personal exception. That leaves should stay on their side of the line. That rain should take responsibility. That the ocean should consider volume levels after 10 p.m. We are all at some point the person who finds the pool too wet. The question is whether we eventually laugh at ourselves or call the front desk. Which of these 27 would you have the hardest time keeping a straight face through? Drop it in the comments, and if you have ever witnessed something even remotely close to any of these, please share it, because this list should not have to bear the weight of human entitlement alone. If you enjoyed this, hit like and subscribe. There is an entire world of confident wrongness out there, and we are just getting started.